Chapter 90. 4.28 Third Blue Star. Reconciliation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Velvety soft hair with each strand tickling my fingers at every touch. Pair of beryl orbs which emits iciness and uniqueness of a snowflakes. Warm squishy petite body which fit perfectly in my embrace. Then that scent of sweetness and mint that distinctly for this person. This is mine. He can only be mine. Whether in the dream or in the reality, this person is my only true love. As the arms that are wrapped around him gets tighter and the feeling of being compressed heightens the pain on his dislocated right shoulder. That burning pain on his shoulder flares Gue Lan's anger. While the man embracing him ignores his suffering, Gue Lan could only forcefully pull back this bastard to reality. It's so fucking painful. This bastard always hug me too tightly when I'm injured. I don't usually feel pain, but whenever the cause is this person, the pain becomes concrete. Gue Lan, whose eyes are now full of tears from the throbbing agony coming from his dislocated limb, couldn't even struggle from Xia Ye's unyielding embrace. The only thing he could move is his neck and his head. Gue Lan's thoughts at the moment, still not letting go. Watch me then. He opened his mouth widely, revealing his pair of fangs and complete set of white teeth. Without any hesitation, Gue Lan bites on Xia Ye's exposed neckline in his line of sight. Chomp. Chomped on it with enough strength to slightly tear the skin on Xia Ye's neck. In this way Gue Lan was able to share the burning pain on his shoulder to Xia Ye's neck. Hiss. The sting on his neck is too real that Xia Ye finally realized that he isn't dreaming. The man he pressed on the bed is an actual person. It was indeed Gue Lan. Throbbing pain on his neck lessened the strength in his embrace and slightly freed the person wrapped inside his arms. He didn't dare to forcefully pull the man away from him in fear he would hurt him. He was thinking what to say and fell in a short silence until he felt damp warmness fall on his neck to his collarbone. Xia Ye knew that Gue Lan was crying. He panicked for the first time of his life. Holding the thin waist that could be held on one arm and his other hand patting the back of the crying person, Xia Ye sat up on the bed with the latter directly seated on his lap. He first tried coaxing Gue Lan, first even ignoring the pain on his neck. The moment he changed their position, Xia Ye noticed the small figure on his embrace stiffen for a moment. This kind of involuntary movement can only happen when the latter is either scared or in pain. At first Xia Ye thought that he scared Gue Lan and immediately apologized. Xia Ye, Lanner. Did I scare you just now? I'm sore. The bite on his neck strengthens when he say that. Obviously this means that he thought thing wrong and Gue Lan isn't angry. Hiss, did I guess wrongly? Xia Ye moved his eyes around Gue Lan's body and thought of the other option, pain. After observing for a few seconds he noticed that Gue Lan's left arm was strangely hanging on the side, slightly trembling, but based on what he was seeing Gue Lan couldn't seem to move it at all. Only then he realized that it was dislocated. Knowing that he was once again the cause of Gue Lan's state, Xia Ye could only blame himself for being useless. Halana, you can continue biting, I'll reconnect your shoulder. Clicked. That simultaneously intolerable pain within those few seconds made Gue Lan unable to control the force on his jaws. The biting strength he was using increased enough to partly almost bite off a chunk of flesh on Xia Ye's neck. Gue Lan was able to release the bit the moment that unbearable pain on his shoulder spread all over his body. He couldn't even completely muffle his scream. Lanner, are you okay? Asked Xia Ye while looking worriedly at Gue Lan, only for his breathing to still the moment his eyes wandered on those enchanting lips. Those puffy lips were kiss-inspiring and satin soft. Now it was a bit tainted with scarlet color. The blood left the feeling of allure and temptation on those slightly trembling crimson lips. The after pain made Gue Lan groan as he tried to control his breathing to ease the pain. With those bloodied lips slightly parted, Xia Ye's beastly instinct went out of control. He lowered his head and captured those delicious-looking lips. Gue Lan was startled only for a moment before he returned the kiss. A sense of contentment fills his heart as Xia Ye ravaged his mouth, only towards this man that Gue Lan is willing to admit defeat. Xie Yi felt excitement as he could feel that the latter would continue to indulge him even at this age. The Xie Yi that 15 years ago because he was too young he hurt this person not just once or twice. The lack of experience made him overlook the precious person who stays by his side. I even pushed him away once in my confusion and once again pushed him away in my delusion. I was so obsessed with the past that I couldn't even see him standing before him. There are many cases which would allow him to recognize He Lan is Gue Lan, if only he thinks things carefully. Gue Lan would never allow others to touch him without permission. Strangers could only touch his hand with business-like gestures like handshakes but nothing more. He had heard lots of things about Gue Lan as he lived in Gue Mansion as the foster child. The Gue Lan they knew is a detached child. He has no expression and no emotions. He even treats his own father as just a human being but nothing more. It could even be said that Gue Shi only had the title of a father but that is all. This is because Gue Lan was born as an apathetic person. He lacks interest, enthusiasm, or concern. Aside from him no one had really moved Gue Lan. But he understood it too late. As he grew older he started to understand the meaning in Gue Lan's words, gestures and acts. Only he was able to hug Gue Lan, eat meals together on the same plate and sleep beside him at night. He has always been the only special person in Gue Lan's life. He felt jealous that Gue Lan treats Yi Xiajie with concern and yearning. He was so jealous that he even turned a blind eye on Gue Lan's feelings for himself. Once he remembered his childhood he really wanted to kill himself, his past self. Sometimes he is so blinded by his own obsession and harms Gue Lan unintentionally. What happened just now is a great example. He didn't even notice that him suddenly pulling Gue Lan towards him made him dislocate Gue Lan's right shoulder. He didn't control his strength and hurt him. It may be unintentional but it was still done by him. Then he vowed that starting tonight all of his attention will only fall on Gue Lan. He must not leave anything unnoticed. His love must never be harmed again, whether it was someone else or him himself. Their kiss was taking too long and Gue Lan could no longer feel his lips but the obvious throbbing and numbness is the only proof of this man's ferocity. Gue Lan could only grab Xie Yi's hair and pull him away. Feeling his lover's discontent, Xie Yi could only pull himself away. I still haven't forgotten you rejecting me, exclaimed Gue Lan. Xie Yi responded, I was wrong. It would never happen again. L'honneur, Nav Om. Xie Yi knew his lover's anger and could only use his ultimate skill. He gave his lover the sad puppy eyes as he looked up on him. Gue Lan who was hit by bullseye by those eyes suddenly froze and his anger was held up as if a cold water was poured over his head. He let go of Xie Yi's hair and instead pulled at his cheeks, playing with his face while pouting. If I don't love you, do you think those eyes would work? If it was someone else who looked at me like that I would have plucked out their eyes, said Gue Lan. Hearing his lover's poisonous tongue but soft heart, Xie Yi couldn't stop himself from smiling at him. What he didn't know is that this lustrous smile is more of ultimate skill, its effect is much more aggressive than the puppy eyes from before. Gue Lan couldn't even stop the blush from appearing on his flawless face. Bastard! What the hell are you concurrently giving away ultimate skills one after another? I almost could stop myself and jump on you. System U who just finished his task returned to his host's side only to witness this scene. Hearing his host's thoughts, System U couldn't help but retort. Host, give up. You can never defeat him in your whole life, waving a white flag, you're back, you. Anyway, even if I cannot defeat him, controlling his appetite should suffice. I won't let him eat tonight. You raises 2 more white flags. I bet 3 redemption tickets that the host will give away in the end. I will bet with you, said Gue Lan. Gue Lan then pushed Xie Yi on the bed intending only to punish him but things had gone wrong somewhere and you know what happened next. Morning. That night Gue Lan accepted the bet with his System U. The next morning had no face to face the world. Because he can't get out of the bed. His ankle was chained in the bed's foot. Laying on his stomach only could see his back covered in endless and countless strawberry marks. There are even traces of light bite marks and bruises. This figure is an obvious result of overdoing it. Who am I? Where is this? When was it? Gue Lan's rampaging thoughts. Host, I won. Fuck it. Just take it away. Informing the host that you could no longer redeem any items in this world. How was the dark room play, host? It was amazing and exciting. I want to do it again with more tools. Said Gue Lan with a huge grin on his face. The host doesn't seem to learn his lesson at all. Arriving from outside the room, his person sat on the bed is none other than Xia Yi, who just returned from the kitchen bringing a glass of water for Gue Lan. He is currently massaging his lover's aching waist. Xia Yi asked worriedly, Lanner, are you uncomfortable somewhere? Do you need to see a doctor? Gue Lan glared at him with sultry languid eyes. If you dare, then you can clean up the study room and stay there starting tonight. Xia Yi chuckles as he lowered his head and pecked Gue Lan's lips. There's evident happiness on his face. I will listen to you, Lanner, responded Xia Yi as he unlocked the cuff on his ankle. They played too much last night and even created the scenario of the so-called dark room. Seeing the traces left by the cuff made Xia Yi frown. Because of Gue Lan's request for the dark room play, he wasn't able to prepare the required tools for it. They could only improvise and used his personal special handcuff in capturing espers. Gently prying the handcuff out Gue Lan's ankle, Xia Yi felt bad seeing the red traces on his lover's white skin. He carefully held his lover's foot and kissed the traces in an attempt to soothe the pain. Seeing Xia Yi's gesture, Gue Lan was moved. He could see how precious he is for this man. I feel sticky. I want to take a bath, said Gue Lan. Xia Yi, who heard his lover's request, nodded his head unhesitantly. He carried him in his arms carefully. Let's take one together, Lanner, said Xia Yi. Gue Lan smiled at him as he wrapped his arms around Xia Yi's neck. As long as you wish, replied Gue Lan. Chapter 91. 4.29 Third Blue Star. Room 0373's Reunion. You're listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 91. 4.29 Third Blue Star. Room 0373's Reunion. Metropolitan Police. Supernatural Investigation Department Unit. Everyone was following the figure of Xia Yi, who was carrying a young man in huge hoodies on his back while carrying a huge pillow and blanket with another hand. The man on Xia Yi's back had his face all covered by the former's wide shoulders and only the slight stray cobalt hair strand could be seen. Last night Gue Lan had revised the authority he used on the heavenly laws. He made sure that everyone would recognize He Lan as Gue Lan. Since both He Lan and Gue Lan's identity had merged, his qualifications and origin were released. As the young heir of Gue clan and the next seat to the minister's throne, everyone adored Gue Lan. He became the idol and model figure of the Esper world. The reason why Xia Yi is carrying him to work is because he overtaxed himself with last night pleasure and frolic for a few hours with Xia Yi in the bathroom. He is now tired as hell. Surrounding them were officers who heard about He Lan's real identity as Gue Lan. Isn't that Special Officer Xia? Indeed. I heard he was busy with the preparation for the D-Day. If that's Special Officer Xia, then that person on his back must be. It's Special Officer He Lan. Is it true that he is the Prime Minister's son? It's true. Our Esper's comrade said that the one who saved them 15 years ago is him. 15 years ago. He was only 6 years old that time. Are you playing with me? I'm not. Don't treat him like normals. Even among the Espers he's above everyone else. They've said he had awakened so many abilities and was almost equal to gods. How many did he have? In the records it says that he has telepathy, retrocognition, teleportation and ice element. Amazing he could use all those. But wasn't Sir Xie's abilities amazing as well? It's not a lot, but aside from mind reading, his second skill is a badass. He could copy the abilities of other espers and make it his own. Indeed, thought he doesn't have 100% control over it. I heard that he could use at least 70% of its original strength. All of a sudden the crowd heard a voice in their minds. It was Xie Ye's voice. Xie Yi. Get back to work. Stop loitering around during work hours. The stern and cold voice of Xie Yi resounds directly to their minds, scaring these little officers to death that they've saluted instinctively in response. Yes sir. They disperse in an orderly manner after they've finished their salutations. Once the people in the are left, only the quietness of the empty hallway remains. Somebody suddenly giggles, breaking the silence in the area. It was Gue Lan, who just woke up. I've let you copy my skills this morning and you're already using it. There is something you need to promise me, said Gue Lan. Xie Yi pulled the one on his back to move in front of him and Princess carried him. What is it? I'll promise you anything, Lanner, responded Xie Yi. Promise to never use authority with telepathy. These two abilities have conflicting nature. One seeks control while the other creates links for stability. It cannot be used at the same time. The backlash from doing so is a bit too much for the brain and body. Xie Yi was about to respond, but then he remembered Gue Lan using authority with telepathy when they were children. Now learning about the backlash of these two abilities made him remember Gue Lan's paleness that night. His usual body warmth is almost gone, his skin is so pale as if he has no blood, even his lips were a bit purple. At that time Gue Lan was only 6 years old. He used to love sleeping, but he never takes too many unusual naps. He also doesn't oversleep beyond normal times, but after that day when they fought, he noticed Gue Lan's body seems weaker than before. Knowing this, Xie Yi wrapped the blanket in his arms around Gue Lan. He held his hand and put it to his cheeks, checking his temperature through Gue Lan's palm. He sighed in relief when he felt the hands were warm, unlike from the last touch in their childhood. Okay, I promise you, replied Xie Yi. It's too hot. Why did you wrap me in a blanket like some kind of cocoon? Complained Gue Lan. Passing the pillow to Gue Lan's arms, bear with it for a moment. I'll bring you somewhere to give you a full body checkup, said Xie Yi, who left in a hurry carrying Gue Lan in his arms. Host, since your injured soul affects your body, with a full body checkup they will see that your vessel state isn't normal and might declare you as a dying person. Your soul damage percentage was suppressed down to 38% after self-repairing and physique upgrade for 15 years. Despite it, healing your soul inside this world is impossible. Gue Lan responded like he didn't care, but he knew that his lifespan in this world had greatly reduced. How long could this vessel last? Give me an exact duration. He asked. If the host continues to live as a normal esper using your ability without overworking yourself, the host should be able to live until 70, but if the host uses the other skill card and the damage in your soul increases, then you can only live until 40. Either at 40 or 70 years old. But the normal lifespan of espers in this world is above 100. Normally, for someone of my level, I should be able to live until I am 150 years old. The host's soul injury is caused by the divine laws of the highest realm. Since the host had received the punishment in this little star, unless you left this place there aren't any possibilities to cure your soul. I know. Replied Gue Lan. Hearing this, Gue Lan could only divert his lover's attention to something else and acted like he was panicking. He started striking Xie Yi with the pillow in his arms. No. No. I won't agree with the full body checkup. My body is covered with your love marks. Even though I'm shameless, I won't agree letting others see my body, said Gue Lan. Xie Yi paused for a moment upon remembering the events that happened last night and this morning. Now looking at his lover's blushing face, he was very reluctant to let others see his lover's current state. Despite his hesitation, Xia Yi could still feel uneasiness in his heart. It was something extremely uncomfortable, like for some reason he knew that Gui Lan was hiding something from him. He was being indecisive until he heard Yi Xiaojie's voice in his head. Don't let him notice. If he knew that we have awareness that he is hiding something, then it will be harder for us to know the truth. Seek for the opportunity and wait. I have a way to check his current state if it's a must. Upon hearing Yi Xiaojie's voice in his head, he understood what he should do next. To secretly look for the answers of his question, he must act like he didn't notice anything. Taking the pillow away from Gui Lan, he pulled the latter into an intimate kiss. Since no one else is around in the hallway, they've indulged themselves to each other's existence. It wasn't until Gui Lan was out of breath that Xia Yi let him go. Xia Yi kissed Gui Lan's forehead before hugging him tightly in his embrace. Indeed. No one else aside from me can see your body. No one else, murmured Xia Yi. No one else could see his crimson eyes turning into a darker shade as if being mixed with the color of darkness. Office of the chief. As the couple reached their destination, at the moment they've opened the doors, what welcomed them is a huge crowd of familiar people. Inside the room is not only the usual couple, Yi Zheng and Li Xing, there's Yunli, Su Luan, Professor Sen, Ku Lu and Lin Yi around. After Gui Lan altered the content of the authority he used to the heavenly laws, aside from the enemies, everyone on his side were now able to see through him as Gui Lan. Welcome home, Gui Lan. They've all said to Gui Lan. Xia Yi let Gui Lan down but still held his waist. He didn't allow the latter to leave his side at all. Aside from Yunli, no one else seems to recognize me though. But looking through your past memories, I can only say, you've done well in surviving. I'm proud, said Gui Lan with his usual sly smile as He Lan. Seeing Gui Lan standing before them, some of them couldn't stop their tears from falling. After all, the person who saved their lives 15 years ago and the person who have been protecting them in the shadows have always been Gui Lan. They knew that SID was created for them because Gui Lan requested it. The minister's household has always protected them because Gui Lan wished for it. All this time the syndicate wasn't able to learn who and where they are because Gui Lan and Xia Yi were controlling things in the shadows. They were under Gui Lan's wings the whole time. Li Xing was the first one who ran towards Gui Lan in tears. Following Yi Zheng, who have the same expression, these two hugged the couple before them. Among the group, these two were the most attached to these pairs. Alan. Sobs, where have you been? Are you hurt? Welcome back, Wu Wu, said Li Xing. Yi Zheng spoke, sniff. Alan. I didn't notice. You've been with us. For a few months. Already. No wonder. Dage have been. Bullying me. Those clothes. Where his I will look for it. I promise. What clothes? Asked Gui Lan. The one you let me borrow the last time I took a bath during my first meeting with you as He Lan, replied Yi Zheng, who immediately shrank behind Li Xing upon meeting Xia Yi's warning eyes. Oh, those. Don't worry about it. Those are just I's spare clothes. He wouldn't mind. Gui Lan was suddenly cut off by Xia Yi. Xia Yi interrupts, I mind. You've picked those clothes personally for me. Those are mine. I must return it, he said. It's been months already since the day he borrowed it. I'm pretty sure Ge had lost it somewhere. Forget about it already, said Gui Lan, who looked up to Xia Yi. Xia Yi averted his eyes and didn't reply. Gui Lan took his silence as yes. Gui Lan said, don't worry about the clothes anymore, Ge. Okay. He, replied Yi Zheng while stuttering. Gui Lan looked at Yi Zheng, who was covered in sweats with his eyes swimming around. What Gui Lan couldn't see, above his head Xia Yi is glaring at Yi Zheng. There's an obvious message within those warning eyes. Return my clothes. Don't you dare tell Lana. I'm going to beat you up if you do. From the sidelines. The boss is still a bully even at this age, said Su Luan. I dare that you speak a bit louder. Let's see if your situation would be any different from Yi Zheng, retorted Yunlin. Hearing this, Su Luan instantly shut his mouth off, as he couldn't afford his boss being pissed at him. Let Yi Zheng suffer instead. Seeing this close interaction between the children, Lin Yi and Kuluo couldn't help but laugh. This little group have always been like this. Guilan and Xia Yi have always been the leaders and center of this group, while the rest follow and adore them. Yi Zheng acting silly in this age is because of his undeniable trust towards the two. Li Xing is the same, as he took Guilan as his emotional pillar when they were children. Yunli and Su Luan might be a bit detached, but they watch the group and support them from the side. It's been a while since this group had reunited. This reunion is a short piece before they enter the final battle that will lead them to a peaceful future. Chapter 92. 4.30 Third Blue Star. Serene evening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dnov OM with Guilan on the group. The preparations for the plans were completed ahead of time. Gui clan had given them their full support and manpower under Guilan's orders. Even though Guilan was under the lead of Xia Yi, the highest authority in the clan is still Guilan. As long as the young master returned to the family, all the elders, even the prime minister, followed his command without question. This is a bit different when Xia Yi was taking the lead. There are still a bit of skirmishes here and there for Xia Yi's every request, but when it comes to Guilan, no one exists. But there are some changes that happened when Guilan returns to the clan. First is that, his manor behind the institute was given to the Yi Zheng and Li Xing couple because the prime minister commanded that Xia Yi and Guilan could only live with him in the Gui mansion. At first Guilan didn't want to agree, but his lover talked to him about it and the former could only agree to it. Guilan actually doesn't mind where he lives as long as Xia Yi is with him. Xia Yi on the other hand only did this because of the promise he made with the prime minister 15 years ago. Evening. Gui clan's mansion. Dinner time. In the huge luxurious dinner hall, a long table at the center. On the table a grand, delectable feast was served. Seated on the main seat is the prime minister, Gui Shi. On his right is Guilan, followed by Xia Yi, Yunli, Su Luan, Yi Zheng and Li Xing. On his left is old man Ku Lu, Lin Yi and Professor Senator. On the sideline were servants on standby for orders. It is a magnificent family dinner with few guests. Gui Shi lifted his wine glass and said, "This is a small banquet for the return of my son, Guilan." Everyone followed after him and raised their wine glass as well. Cheers. After a short opening the feast began. Guilan was being served with food by both Gui Shi and Xia Yi on his both sides. Guilan just ate whatever was placed on his plate without question. Gui Shi said with a smile, "Xiaolan dear, Papa had the kitchen prepare your favorite grilled salmon. Have some." Guilan chomped on the salmon in his bowl and ate. "Thank you, Papa," he replied. Gui Shi was delighted enough that he almost couldn't stop himself from grinning. He even averted his face immediately as he covered his nose. There's some trails of blood on his hand. Old butler Ku at once passed the tissue to his master to cover up his embarrassing moment. "My boy is so cute," murmured Gui Shi, breaking his serious fa.ade as the prime minister. This old man has always doted on his son, but the original is no different from the machine. After Guilan was changed, this is the first time he shared a meal with this awkward old father. "Master your nose," whispered old butler Ku. Thankfully received the tissue. "Thanks old Ku," said Gui Shi. "Lana drink some soup for smooth digestion," said Xia Yi, who passed a small bowl of soup and helped Guilan drink it as he held the bowl. "Is there a dessert?" asked Guilan. "I've asked them to prepare some mooncake for you. You can only eat it after dinner," replied Xia Yi. Beside them Yunli and Su Luan were eating silently, while for some time Yunli would only need to glance on a certain plate and Su Luan would serve it near his lover to eat. Ku Lu and Lin Yi, this pair is like that as well. Though Kolu would tease his wife first before giving him what he wants. Meanwhile the most awkward couple is Yi Zheng and Li Xing. This is the first time they dine with the Prime Minister, much more to eat such luxurious meals before them. They were moving like robots as they served each other and ate their dinner. Professor Sen on the other hand was fed by dog food on all sides. Only him had no one to serve him or help him pick his food. He is the sole lonely dog among the rest. In his mind his system is teasing him non-stop that he even halted his eating. My host, you sure have a sad life. No one is there to serve you your meal. Your favorite is even on the other side of the table. No one can help you get it for you. Fufufu, TSK. Why did I even agree to upgrade you in the first place? Your bullying got worse and worse every world. Yes. The host had gone to hundreds of worlds but never had a relationship at all in those worlds. My host would be forever alone if this continues. You shut up. I'm not alone. If I don't find someone to marry in the future I will just marry you. What? Are you speechless now, Baze? Oi, are you still there? If the host wants to marry me you have to redeem me first. But are you sure? I am a criminal who is listed under the Nether system. I become a system to redeem for my crimes. Are you not afraid of me, Lu Yen? That I heard that there are levels of crime under the Book of Nether. Those who did the worst crimes had their memories completely sealed and had to suffer in countless worlds under the strict surveillance of a warden. Then the lightest begins to do service to the main system as an auxiliary guide system like you. Obviously your crimes are the lightest, you cannot scare me. Humph. Then I will wait for you to redeem me, Yenner. Of course you should wait. When I've reached God King stage I would have enough points to redeem from the Nether prison. Professor Sen noticed his favorite butter-grilled abalone suddenly appearing near his plate. Obviously this dish is placed on the other side of the table. For it to suddenly appear near him only 2 people in the place could do so. There is no way for Guilan to waste his time on him when his lover is beside him. Then it can only mean that it was his shy system who made the move. He didn't need who he did it, he only need to know that it was given to him by Baze. Thinking of this, Professor Sen's lips slightly upturns as he delightfully enjoyed the dinner that night. The banquet ended successfully. The guests went home as they wished despite the offer for them to stay the night. Kolu and Lin Yi also excused themselves for the evening as they still need to make some final adjustment for the plan. They needed to return to the metropolitan headquarters to do their job. In the mansion aside from the owner and those who live there, only the Su Luan and Yunli couples stayed for the night. They've remained just in case Xia Yi and Gui Lan would send out some orders. In Xia Yi and Gui Lan's room, Xia Yi left for a while to prepare Gui Lan's midnight snacks and get him a hot drink. Gui Lan was seated on a couch looking outside the scenery from the open veranda door. He looks so serious and no one knows what is in his mind. Host, is there a problem? I was just thinking of something. It's not much of an important thought. Host, did your memories really return? Gui Lan looked at his system and just gave him a mischievous smile but didn't give him a straight answer. Instead he asked, are you afraid that I would kill your lord if my memories returned? System, you gave him silence as an answer, but silence when being questioned is often synonymous to yes. If there is one being in all realms that I couldn't kill outside of my family, it would only be Yi Shijie, you. Gui Lan's reply left System Yu astonished. He doesn't understand the meaning of the words his host means, nor he could ask him again the reason why. He had a feeling that even if he asked his host wouldn't give him an answer. System Yu watched his host look at the horizon parallel to his line of sight but couldn't see any different from that direction. He could only retain in silence, waiting for the next command of his temporary host. Meanwhile within those teal orbs was a calculative glint as if predicting things that might happen in the future. Followed by excitement and annoyance of knowing things that would be normally hidden for other people. If they learn that I am the one by his side, would the mastermind of this farce come out himself, or would he run away like all others who are scared of me? Let's wait. It won't be too late to kill them all off in the future. I wanted to spend a few more worlds together with Axia. The slight glint of silver within those teal's irises diminishes as Guilin blinks his eyes. He decided to turn a blind eye on a few things to enjoy more time with his lover. When Xie Yi returns, Guilin joins him to enjoy the dessert and share a drink before they enter their slumber. Eternal Palace. House of the President. Inside the dimmed lighted office of the President, a familiar-looking man was kneeling on the ground with his head even touching the floor. The one on the floor is none other than the destroyer whose clone was erased by Guilin 15 years ago. After losing half of cultivation, he who used to be a god king had degraded to just being a god with half of his soul completely gone. Right now he is even weaker than Professor Sen, who just ascended as a god a few years ago. This man is named Lu Jian. Lu Jian is currently kowtowing before the man in front of him. The features of the man before him is covered darkness except for his forest green eyes which look down on Lu Jian. While trembling badly in fear, Lu Jian kowtowed before the man, even ignoring his bleeding forehead. Master. Master, please little to this slave's words. There is someone strong in this star that was intentionally protecting that man's soul fragments. He is able to enter an original residence vessel and he is able to command his system without consequences. Explained Lu Jian. The emerald-eyed man responded, how strong is he? Did you witness anything else about that person you are talking about? This slave didn't know how strong he was. When that person killed my clone, he only used a high god cultivation to defeat my god-level clone. I didn't notice anything weird except... Except what? His eyes turned into silver when he was very angry. As Lu Jian mentioned this, the man before him suddenly staggers as he steps back as if he was shocked out of his mind. It took a while before his master spoke to him once again. What shade of silver? Is it the same color of the glistering moon? Lu Jian flinched, but his master's voice suddenly roared. I don't remember. But this slave is sure that it was silver, he replied as he lowered his head in fear that he might be killed. Useless. Lu Jian was suddenly kicked away from the man. He heard his ribs breaking, but he still worked hard to crawl and kowtow before the man. Please forgive this slave. Please forgive this slave. Spare my live master. I will be useful, pleaded Lu Jian. Lu Jian's begging echoes in the whole quiet room, but the man didn't reply at all. As when he thought that he would be killed for failing his mission, the green-eyed man spoke. I will give you one more chance to repent. Kill the soul fragments vessel in this world and you shall be forgiven. Lu Jian felt that he was given one stroke of hope and was delighted that he could redeem himself. Thank you, master. I will do my best to kill that person, said Lu Jian. You can leave. Yes, master. After saying those words, Lu Jian left the room. The man's green eyes glints with mockery as he watches Lu Jian leave. If you could really kill a man under the protection of the destruction itself, then there would be only peace in this world and no death. Chapter 93. 4.31 Third Blue Star. Not human. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Guilin and the rest of the team enjoyed the short moments before the final day. On this day they would implement the plan to destroy the core of all madness in this world. The Inferno Syndicate. This organization is an evil one who treats human lives as experiments. He created man-made espers and hypnotized those to look at normal people as someone lower than they are. They wanted to take control of the authority of not just this country but of the whole world. At the beginning they've increased the crime rate by a few folds and wanted to scare the normals about the difference of an espers to a normal person. They would have been successful if not for the SID unit existing. With the backing of the Prime Minister itself, the newly made unit composed of normals and espers working together had controlled the crime rate, stabilizing it at an acceptable rating. The relationship between the espers and normals haven't completely gone bad. With Yi Zhang's protagonist Halo, these kinds of things were easily solved even when he was on his own. Thought every case took longer to solve than when he got the help of Guilan. At dawn, the preparation to surround the estate of the president has been done. The rest were just waiting for the leaders to give the command. Xia Yi took the lead together with Yi Zhang and Su Luan. They've led a vanguard team into the palace of the president, while Professor Sun, Li Xing and Yunli at the rear for support. Ko Lu, Lin Yi and people of the Gui clan were at the borderline to separate the normals near the vicinity. Xia Yi led the team and entered the palace, capturing those who surrendered and killing those who didn't. He let Yi Zhang and Su Luan focus on raiding the whole place while he looked for the president's office to look for that man who caused him to be separated from Guilan for 15 years. I.e., Aksu, divide into 2 groups and clean up the palace. I will look for their head, said Xia Yi. Be careful, Dage, said Yi Zhang. What about the president, boss, asked Su Luan. Xia Yi replied, capture him and gather all necessary proof to condemn him. I will leave him to Father.in.all after this raid. Father.in.all, the minister agreed to Alan and Dage's relationship, said Yi Zhang. Did Alan agree? Su Luan asked the most important question. Xia Yi smiled when he heard what Su Luan asked. Apparently Guilan agreed to it. Yi Zhang and Su Luan sighed in relief seeing this. Only when Guilan agreed that there should be no other problem afterwards. At least a problem that will come from the Gui clan will never happen. Congratulations. The two said. Father.in.all and the elders will make the preparation for the wedding. I and Lana decided to go abroad for honeymoon. If you guys are coming, clean up your schedules yourselves. I'll be going now, said Xia Yi as he separated from the group to look for the mastermind. His smile disappeared as soon as he got separated from the group. Yi Zhang and Su Luan divided the rest of the team to do their orders. Meanwhile in the sky, Guilan watched from above, observing the whole scene at wide range. He would support the 3 teams if needed. This is Xia Ye's request. His lover wanted to kill that man from 15 years ago. Are you sure that Destroyer is in the president's office? I am sure, host. But there is something wrong with his aura. Is that so? You go and support I, since he knows your existence. The heavenly laws wouldn't care about the restriction on him, as the punishment was already bestowed on me. But host, I cannot leave your side. I am your system. I might be your host, but now that I am giving you orders to support your lord. In the first place, my existence is never under your jurisdiction. Just go you. Said Guilan. I understood, host. I will leave the skill card. Limit breaker in your possession instead. System you left to offer his service to his lord as his host orders. The moment System you had left his side, Guilan's expression became devoid of emotions and feeling. There is only cold calmness and aloofness. Like nothing was worthy for him to lay his eyes upon. He didn't even move his head as he speaks in an austere manner. Come out. I even personally send away my little moon to cater your nonsense. Behind Guilan a man in pure black robes appeared. His hair is untied, pure black hair flowing behind him. His green eyes were looking at Guilan with adornment and high regards. This man obviously knew Guilan's real identity. The man instantly fell on one knee as he greeted Guilan. Please accept my greetings, esteemed young Prince He. This one is called He Wanyu from the He clan. He clan. Why would the clan that chose to banish my father be the one to approach me without fear of death? Do you think this lord would not kill you? Said Guilan as he twisted his body to look at He Wanyu's angle. His formerly teal-colored irises now have the hue of moonlight, argent coldness and detachment. In that split moment He Wanyu's whole being felt the pain of being ripped apart. Even his internal organs weren't spared and one by one exploded inside him. L.C. It's him. It's really him. Fuck. I'm going to die. I'm really going to fucking die. He even has precise control over his powers as he only used the pressure only on him alone, not even a hint of aura spills in this little star. Shit. I don't want to die. I need to report this person's existence to Master. He is extremely dangerous. Thinking of escaping. In front of me, are you sure of that? Said Guilin as he took complete control of the space around He Wanyu, preventing not even a hint of his soul to escape his grasp. He Wanyu in a state of stupefaction said, "Why don't you can control space elements? Didn't they say you can only use ice and blood?" Guilin gave him a mocking smile. "I wonder who was the fool who told you such incomplete information. Ice is the main element of my Mo bloodline. Blood from the He and space is my second main after ice. I will have a private talk to you later. For now, you have to sleep until I tell you to wake up." The last sentence of Guilin was done using his authority ability at full force. Even a mythical god like He Wanyu could never disobey. In his stupor He Wanyu saw those legendary silver eyes, only those of direct bloodline of He clan could possess. Those argent orbs. Ha, it's really beautiful, like that person's eyes. After He Wanyu entered a deep slumber state as Guilin commanded, he threw the man in his personal domain. It is a private space that only he could control. As soon as the space rift that connects to his domain disappears, Guilin coughs a mouthful of blood. This time is needed for hands to bear it. He used an ice element to freeze the blood and let it turn to a blood mist to disperse it. After cleaning himself up, Guilin continues to watch his lover who was about to reach the president's office. The whole event wasn't noticed by anyone else, even the heavenly laws of this world, as he prevented everyone to do so. This is also the reason why he used his real cultivation as a celestial god. Because he wanted to capture He Wanyu. I guess using my real cultivation with this state is indeed too much. I wonder how many years could I stay with you in this world. At least I had captured someone who might give me the lead of why you are being targeted. You just need to focus on healing. I will collect your soul fragments and block all your enemies for you, Axia, murmured Guilin. Only the wind is able to hear his words as the skill card on his hand which his system passed to him had turned to ashes upon activation. Duration finished. Back to the palace, Xie Yi finally reached the office of the president, but before he could open the door he looked somewhere above him with puzzlement in his eyes. Sire Xie Yi, what's wrong? System Yu calls him by his name instead of his title as Yi Xiaojia's soul hasn't completely awake yet. Are you sure that Lan'er is okay alone? Asked Xie Yi. The host is stronger than you think. Please worry about yourself instead, Sire Xie. Your opponent is an outsider that is considered as God in this world. I know. I will still kill him even if he is a god, responded Xie Yi. Be careful in front of you. But the moment Xie Yi opened the door, something huge jumped towards his direction, pushing out of the palace with him, even destroying the wall behind him due to the force coming from before him. He covered himself with ice barrier to prevent being hurt by the debris of broken things behind him. Xie Yi couldn't see the figure before him because of dust and rubbles. Xie Yi was pushed out until he was outside the palace. Before he got thrown completely, he had already informed the people outside to give a huge space for him and the thing they considered as an enemy. Guilin, who was watching the whole scene, had issued the order of retreat as well even before Xie Yi does. Thankfully Yi Zheng and Su Luan, who heard the warning, had gone out of the palace before it totally collapsed. Xie Yi, who was thrown outside, had already supported himself before he hit the ground. He used his arms as leverage to flip backwards as he created a distance away from the enemy. Yi Zheng, Dage. Su Luan, Boss. Spread. Prepare for battle, ordered Xie Yi. What is this thing? It seems huge, said Li Xing. Yunli responded, I don't think it's human at all. The people in the audience didn't even notice that the sun was slowly turning black and the sky is turning dark. They've all waited for the dust and rubbles to lessen. But everyone could see a mountain dot-like figure buried in dirt and dust, quivering as if removing the sand on him. As the figure was revealed, everyone in the area was shocked. Before them is a beast with the size as tall of a 4-floor building. Large claws and sharp teeth. Long fur with a similar figure of a dog. The thing before them is obviously a huge wolf-like monster, but their surprise didn't end with just that, because the beast suddenly. Humans, you can only blame yourselves for bringing out my existence to your life. The huge beast suddenly talks like a human, leaving everyone speechless in shock, fear and disbelief. What the hell is this thing? asked Xie. It's a Tiango. It has a lot of names, but its most common name is Sky Wolf. It's a black dog which caused eclipses by trying to eat the sun and moon. A heavenly beast which reached ascension to become a mythical being. Chapter 94. 4.32 Third Blue Star. Sky Wolf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's a Tiango. It has a lot of names, but its most common name is Sky Wolf. It's a black dog which caused eclipses by trying to eat the sun and moon. A heavenly beast which reached ascension to become a mythical being. Before them is a ruined site of the former estate of the president and a huge wolf-like creature whose features were only depicted in the legends. Xie whispered, Sky Wolf, a beast which is considered as a myth. All of a sudden Xie heard his wife's voice in his mind. They were connected with telepathy, and unlike the rest, his connection to Gui Lan is a permanent one. Gui. This beast can be considered a beast god in this world. But the heavenly laws restrict its strength, as it's not an original being born to this world. Its strength is just a few stages stronger than yours. If you work with Yizheng and Su Luan, you should be able to kill it. Or do you want me to support you instead? Xie. There is no need, Lanner. This is the creature that forced us to get separated 15 years ago. I wanted to end its life with my own hands. The Vanguard team will kill this beast. Gui. Sai, I understand. I will protect the rest of the group. Just focus on the beast and be careful. Xie. Baby, do you have some weapon I could borrow? Gui. What kind do you need? Xie. A sword would be better. Gui. I get you to pass it to you. Xie. Baby, one last thing. Could you separate this beast and me to the rest of the group? Gui. I will prepare the stage for you, Xie. Great. Baby, wait for me to skin this animal and prepare a new fur carpet for our bedroom. Telepathic conversation ends. Dage calls Yizheng. Su Luan asked, any injuries, boss? Yizheng and Su Luan, who just rejoined him, overheard their leader's rumbles. Only then did they recognize the being before them. A mythical being. It's a god-class creature then. Holy shit, exclaimed Yizheng. Su Luan stared at the creature before them with shock. I've seen large-sized gorillas and snakes in the Amazon rainforest, but not in this humongous size, uttered Su Luan in surprise. It didn't take a while for the Vanguard team to regather and surround the beast. But even though he is surrounded, the Sky Wolf acted like he didn't care about their numbers. He was even looking down on them. The beast spoke, there are still humans in this mid-tier world who know this deity's origin. Not bad, the beast grinned, showing his fangs to his prey. But this doesn't mean I will spare your little lives. The first one to sense danger is Su Luan because of his ability. Su Luan shouted, be careful. The ones behind. It's going to start attacking. As soon as he spoke that, the huge wolf suddenly appeared before the Vanguard team. Using its inhuman speed to appear before the weakest link in the crowd, intending to lessen their numbers. This Sky Wolf seems to know tactics as well, as the first target of his attack is the support group whose duty is to heal others. The Sky Wolf, who suddenly appeared on the rear with its almost unparalleled agility, had its huge paws about to land on the healing group. Too late, human. The wild beast exclaimed. Among the group in that area happens to be Li Xing. Seeing such a dire situation of his lover, Yizheng had a look of despair in his eyes. Yi Jing screamed in desperation, Xanjar. Li Xing saw the huge paws above him, he felt the weakness of an ant in front of a humongous monster. He couldn't even hear his lover's voice shouting his name with anguish. He could only feel his life flashes before him. Am I going to die? Li Xing's thoughts at the last moments. He closed his eyes preparing for death and that awaited pain he would suffer in a few seconds. But after waiting for a while, even lasting a few minutes, Li Xing and the rest didn't feel the pain they should be inflicted with. Then there's a sudden stillness in the area. When Li Xing opened his eyes, a barrier made of ice appeared surrounding the area the wolf had targeted. Even the strength of his claws were unable to break the ice. Stunned Sky Wolf, what? Li Xing and rest, who had the idea, who protected them? Alan. Murmured Li Xing, who fell seated on the ground as he felt relief of being out of the grasp of death. Thank you. Then in everyone's mind Gui Lan's cold voice resounded. Before they'd gone to this place, everyone else, including in this part of the plan, made a temporary link with Gui Lan using his telepathy. Xia Yi took the overall command to him while he and his vanguard team focused on fighting in the front lines. Xia. Everyone retreat. Leave the beast to Xia Yi and the vanguard team. Vanguard team follows Xia Yi's orders strictly. Healing group. Don't scatter around, you will need to provide fullest support for the vanguard team. The rest of the group, don't move, I will teleport you to different coordinates. Your task is to capture all the strugglers and escapees from the syndicate. Return to the headquarters before the sun had completely set. Vanguard group. As you wish. Li Xing and the healing team. Understood. The rest of the team. Yes sir Gui. Only the Sky Wolf didn't hear Gui Lan's voice but was quiet the whole time as if remembering something. The moment he saw this barrier made of indestructible ice made him remember the memories he got from his clone, which was killed 15 years ago. He started trembling as he remembered those tortures he had suffered under that child's hand. He knew that the boy isn't what he looks like. That thing is a monster. The same kind as that master who picked him up. A higher being. The larger group have been teleported away to do their tasks while the rest prepare for the battle. While the wolf is distracted with his harrowing memories, Gui Lan, who was watching the scene from above, wipes the corner of his lips as blood trails are still left behind. System Yu, who returned to his side, saw his host's state. He immediately understood that his host Mist had used the skill card once again. Host. Are you okay? The suppression in your soul has wavered. The soul damage percentage had reached 50%. It's fine. A normal backlash from using the skill card. The master of that wild wolf is a bit harder to kill. A master. That Sky Wolf had a master. Yes. A mythical god from the highest realm. Someone from Verth. But that is impossible. No one should know the current state of the Lord God except for my boss. You have traitors in your side. After we leave this small star, you should go return to your boss and report about this personally. I will also need a short break to heal my soul during that time. Gui Lan used a space element to let his hand enter in a separate space, moving his hands around inside. This small dimension was connected to Gui Lan's personal inventory. He was looking for a sword that will become useful for Xia Yi to use. After rampaging around, he pulled out a pure black sword with scarlet gemstone on the handle. The sword is flawless and sharp as if it could cut anything in its way. Its blade down to its hilt is black as if the whole thing is made from obsidian stones. The sword had the aura of death, blood and darkness. This is obviously a demonic sword. Give this to him, said Gui Lan. But this is a demonic sword. The Lord God's soul hasn't awakened yet, and his mortal soul fragment would not be able to control the evil aura in this sword. Gui Lan smiled as he heard a joke. Just based on his expression, Gui Lan didn't believe that Yi Xiajie hadn't awakened yet. Just the fact that Xia Yi suddenly recognized him when he decided to leave his side in anger, there is no way Yi Xiaojie didn't wake up that time. That man has always been afraid of him leaving for some unknown reason. He didn't explain anything to his system and just gave him the black sword for him to pass it to Xia Yi, who is looking for a weapon. By the way, you. Yes, host, Guilin used authority on System U. He even used his real cultivation to suppress him despite the consequences. Authority. You are forbidden to inform Axia about this body's current state while I'm still alive. Nothing should be informed. Not allowed to report that I used authority on you, and your state will remain normal when asked. System U was shocked upon receiving the orders through authority. Even if a system using this kind of skill is usually useless, that is only if the former is weaker than him. Obviously this doesn't fall in this category, as the person in front of him is a lot stronger than he is. Not just a few levels but a difference of stages. System U, who was bestowed an irrefutable order, could only accept it in silence. His host ignored his silence. Go on. Pass the sword to I, said Guilin. Oh. Sai, I understand. Please leave it to me. As soon as System U left his side, blood still continued to flow from the corner of his lips. Guilin nonchalantly wipes it with an expressionless face. He remembered his system's last report about his soul damage percentage. 50%. Which means I could only live to be 40 years old at least. If I bear with it, then there should be no problem with living until 50. Murmured Guilin. His eyes then wandered at Xia Yi's figure below him. When Xia Yi didn't recognize him and even dared to reject him, Guilin was honestly disappointed. He was disheartened by the fact that Xia Yi wasn't the first one to recognize him as Guilin when he was the person he spent most of his time with in their childhood. Despite that, Guilin didn't get angry at Xia Yi and instead forgive him right away. Even returning to his side as soon as his identity was revealed. Guilin slyly smiled and uttered, "It's true that I am not angry, but that doesn't mean there is no punishment. Would you get angry at me if I don't tell you that I could only stay by your side for at most 30 years in this world, Axia?" Below System U had successfully fulfilled his task of giving Xia Yi the black sword, though he is very reluctant to do so. He sighed in relief when he saw that Xia Yi remained sane even after holding a demonic sword in his hands. He didn't even notice Xia Yi's serious expression when System U gave the sword. "Is there something wrong with the sword, Sire Xia? You said Lan'er told you to give me this sword." "Yes. This is the sword the host prepared for you, sire." Looking at the extremely compatible sword on his hands, Xia Yi could only groan. "The sword doesn't suit your taste, sire. It's because it suits me too much that I'm depressed. Giving me this kind of sword at this time means he already knew." "What does sire means?" "It means he knew that I've already woken up, Executioner 13. When System U heard his real title being called by Xia Yi, made him understand that his Lord God had already awakened, and based on his state his Lord and Xia Yi's soul had already merged. "Greetings, my Lord. You can report to me later, but there is still something I want to ask first." As if System U already knew what kind of question his Lord would ask, even though he wanted to report all details, because of the authority used on him his body refused to follow his commands. "Please ask, my Lord. What is wrong with Jing'er?" asked Xia Yi as his eyes in this very moment turned obsidian in color. As the effect of authority was placed on him, System U replied without hesitation and monotonous like always. "Nothing is wrong. Everything is fine, my Lord." Chapter 95. 4.33 Third Blue Star. Death of the Sky Wolf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xia Yi led the vanguard team and fought with the Sky Wolf. Guilin supported the team and erected a tall transparent ice dome while enclosing the beast and the vanguard team in it. The healing team is outside the dome watching for the whole fight. As soon as one of the members of the vanguard team is hurt, the rest would work to pull him out of the dome and heal him right away. Xia while holding a black sword is fighting the wolf one-on-one while the rest supported him from the sideline, attacking the wolf randomly. Its huge body was a perfect target for a group attack. Since Xia is holding the beast in one place, they could target the enemy without precise targeting. They only need to avoid accidentally hitting their teammates. The sky wolf howls in anger seeing these puny little insects attacking him but was still vigilant enough as he remembered the fear towards that ice ability user who killed his clone 15 years ago might be lurking in shadows watching him make a fool out of himself. Everyone could hear the wolf's rambling. Bastard! 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 Why are you interfering? If not for you I wouldn't be in this state. You've already killed my clone. What the hell do you still want from me? Fuck. Fuck. You're a higher being, why are you caring for these puny insects when they are not even useful for you? Damn it. Yelled the sky wolf. Yi Jing yelled back, you are the bastard. How are you calling insects? It's you. All of you. You are just insects. An ant. Do you not know that child who I fought before? He is not human. He is even stronger than an ordinary god. Fuck. I do not understand why he is protecting you guys and this little world at all. Screamed the sky wolf despite being injured all over his body. Roar. The sky wolf was about to enter his berserk mode when his neck and limbs were suddenly bound by chains made of ice. This control attack is something Xia didn't at the moment the beast is the weakest. He restrained the wolf at the split moment of opportunity when its guards at the lowest during the initial stages of his berserk. The ice cooled down the raging emotion of the wild beast. With the sudden restriction his berserk mode went wary and the sky wolf ended up suffering a backlash. Cling. Cling. Struggling to move, what is fuck? Chains made of ice. The sky wolf glared at the human holding the black blade. He witnessed this human using ice elements to restrict his movements. Who are you? Why can you use the same element as that person? Asked the sky wolf. Xia Ye's face is cold and ruthless as he waves his sword to cut off the legs of the wolf. The sky wolf could only howl in pain as he lost his limbs, giving Xia Yi a death glare as if he wanted to eat him alive. Chewy him like a snack. But within those eyes were mixed emotions of shocked, disbelief and agony. This sky wolf couldn't believe that he lost to a human being. Sky wolf looked at Xia Yi like he was something weird. You are definitely not that boy whom I fought 0.15 years ago, but the ice element you've used had the same purity. That ice is not just someone could wield. Said the sky wolf in between his breath, he could even feel his body turning cold at every second. Xia Yi understood what the dying wolf was trying to say and replied to him. My ability is copy. Ice element is my wife's ability. The sky wolf's eyes widened in surprise as saw the eyes of the human before him slowly changing from crimson to pure darkness. As if feeling the abyss looking back at him, the sky wolf felt an undeniable strength within those darkness-filled orbs. It was a strength that is beyond his and that man he calls as master. But this person's strength is not yet at the same level as that smiling devil. Not yet. At least not for now. Only then he understood the real identity of the human before him. It was this person that the little devil is protecting with everything. Just now he totally felt that the aura of his master was gone. His master had made his move to find that child from 15 years ago. Now that his master's aura completely disappeared, all of the sudden means that he is either dead or captured. The sky wolf feels that more of the latter instead. Wife. You have an extremely powerful wife. Then I have only one last thing to say to you. Are you willing to listen? Said the sky wolf. Xia Yi responded coldly, speak beast. The sky wolf snorted at him and said, 15 years ago when you didn't wake up. Everything had already been decided. You will never be able to change the future now. 15 years ago, if I remembered it correctly, that little devil who killed my clone had a fatal wound in the soul, which means he wouldn't be able to live long in this little star. While this bastard will have to live even longer than his other half. Ha 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 ha. Cs Stygian irises glinted with ruthlessness and mercilessness. He slashed the beast's neck with his black sword, separating the head from its body. Then Sky Wolf is no more. Everyone watched as their leader took the head of their enemy. With the master of the Inferno Syndicate gone, Inferno will no longer exist. Everyone in SID celebrated their victory despite the fact that the coldness deep within Xiaoye's eyes is not without a reason. This mythical creature said that the future is set on stone 15 years ago. He even knew that he had just recently awakened. This can only mean that this wolf knew that he is a soul fragment that just woke up. Everything was set to stone 15 years ago. What does he mean? Murmured Xiaoye. The black sword disappears out of nowhere, but Xiaoye could summon it back if he wished to. That is a demonic sword that could be called by the owner anytime. The moment he held the sword and didn't die means he was accepted as the owner of such a cursed weapon. Before he could mold over things, someone fell from the sky to his arms. Xiaoye carefully catches the fallen person in his embrace. It was Guilin. Good job, said Guilin as he wrapped his hand around Xiaoye's neck and gave him a kiss on his cheeks. Moi. Xiaoye couldn't help but smile as his beloved gave him a kiss, but he still thinks it's not enough. After celebrating for a short notice, they finally remembered their leaders who worked the hardest for this plan. One fought in the front lines while the other supported everyone, preventing the possible deaths of their unit. They thanked God that they could finally be free from those psychopath espers who only kill for joy and blood. With the end of Inferno, those psychopaths would no longer be created by humans anymore. They could finally have a normal life with fear of losing their lives because of the Syndicate. As after today, Inferno will be no more. Looking at Xiaoye and Guilin's interaction. Everyone is joyous for this pair as they know what kind of hardships they've suffered, even getting separated from each other for 15 years. Xiaoye complains, "Baby, is that all for my reward?" Not even a proper kiss. He is looking at his lover with pleading and unsatisfied eyes. Guilin used his left index finger and pushed up Xiaoye's chin. With a taunting smile on his face, he looked at Xiaoye with a passionate and haughty gaze. "What do you want? Tell me. What do you want?" whispered Guilin while mischievously blowing on Xiaoye's ears. Everyone around them felt embarrassed for no reason. Some shy ones even covered their faces, only peeking through the slit of their fingers. Some were bold enough to record the scene while some were giving Xiaoye a playful smirk and teasingly eyes. They can see that Xiaoye was dumbfounded for a moment. He could even see him gulping as his Adam's apple moved up and down when he heard Guilin's playful voice directly to his ears. Seeing his lover's slightly tinted ears, Guilin felt that he hadn't teased him enough and whispered a few more words of temptation. Only Xiaoye experiences the seduction directly from a little devil. Guilin whispered, "Can't decide, I'll wait for you at home. So think about it well." He then chomped on Xiaoye's ears before kissing it coyly. Then everyone watched Guilin suddenly disappear from Xiaoye's arms, and then all that was left behind was a blushing tomato called Xiaoye. Seeing this kind of Xiaoye, Yizheng couldn't stop himself from laughing. Clearly he isn't the only one trying to hold back their laughter, but only he lost control of his mouth and the sound of joy comes out from his mouth. Ha ha ha. It didn't take a while for the rest to follow his steps and laugh together with him. Forgetting that their target of laughter is none other than their boss. But instead of getting angry, Xiaoye steps in huge strides towards Yizheng and pats his shoulders with force to choke his laughing. Pat. 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 "Good, you now even dare to laugh at me, ha?" said Xiaoye with a bright smile on his captivating face, but unlike when he is looking at Guilin, this expression is clearly false. Behind that smile is a demon who is raging in anger. Yi Zheng's face turned ashen right at this moment while the laughter from before had all paused. Everyone's thoughts while looking at the pale chief of SID. Rest in place, chief. Yi Zheng raised both his hands and shook his head like a machine with few loose screws. No. D.Dage, I won't dare anymore, responded Yi Zheng. Xia Yi ignored his gesture and responded, remember, I and Lana are going to retire. Do not visit us for a week or so. I will meet you when our wedding preparations are done. Yi Zheng's nervousness instantly disappeared when he heard Xia Ye's words. Xia Yi and Gue Lan suddenly retiring from SID mean all the work for the aftermath will fall on him and Li Xing. D.Dage, T. This. You don't need to retire. I'll give you a yes. A long vacation, said Yi Zheng, trying his hardest to keep the two in his unit. Li Xing, who was standing beside Yi Zheng, giggled but still stopped his lover from convincing Xia Yi to remain in SID. Let them go. I will help you with work, said Li Xing. Yunli and Su Luan, who understood Li Xing's reason for agreement of their boss's retirement, also speak. Yunli said, if you don't mind me helping, I would lend you a hand. I will partner up with Lear and help as well, said Su Luan. Yi Zheng was still very reluctant to let go of the two. Only when his lover whispered a few things that he let it go. Okay. I will make necessary preparation for it. Dage, please be happy with Alan, said Yi Zheng with a huge grin on his face. Xia Ye's expression slightly softens and replies, I will make Lana happy. After finishing things here and there, he also disappeared from the place and used teleportation to leave the location like what Gue Lan did before. Once Xia Yi disappeared from their sight, Yi Zheng could only let out a deep breath of resignation. Li Xing, who understood his lover's reluctance, could only comfort him by patting his back. They've been separated for 15 years already. Let them spend more time together, said Li Xing. They should live for their happiness this time, said Yunli. Su Luan spoke, it's not like we can't ask for help if there is really a case we couldn't solve. They would be in the minister's estate anyway. Sigh, indeed, I shouldn't be making selfish decisions. They had suffered enough. But you guys would really help me, right? I don't want to work overtime alone. We still need to schedule our vacation to join them in their honeymoon getaway, said Yi Zheng. Hearing this, the other three had a smile on their face, apparently they also had this on their minds. Of course, afterwards they cleaned up the rest of the things regarding the president's estate. Gather all evidence and capture all members of the syndicate. Though there are some who escaped, those people would be put under the wanted bounty list. With the help of the Gue clan and the Psyche Institute, cleaning the aftermath had gone smoothly even when the two former core of the group had left the team. Chapter 96 4.34 Third Blue Star. Bathroom, M. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A/N, warning. Mature content ahead. Gue clan's mansion. Gue Lan and Xia Ye's floor. After the success of their plan, Inferno is no more. The destroyer who is known as the Sky Wolf is dead. Gue Lan's task for this world is completed. Teleporting and appearing inside a huge and grand master's bedroom, Gue Lan fell directly on the nearest couch and immediately covered his mouth. Cough. From the slit of his fingers crimson liquid slips through, dyeing the couch cover under Gue Lan. The scent of rust spreads inside the place. Host. I am fine, you. Clean up all the blood. Don't leave any traces, even the scent must be removed, responded Gue Lan. System Yu did as he was ordered and all traces of blood including the scent and traces on the couch disappeared. Gue Lan sat on the clean couch and circulated his chi, trying his best to suppress the injury in his soul. He had to meditate fast before Xia Yi came over and acted. Nothing is wrong. System Yu hovers around his host, checking on his. The soul damage index of his host had reached over half. It is now 73%, this index will continue to exist as long as his host continues to use his Esper abilities. How long can this body last? The exact duration if you can, asked Guilan while meditating, his eyes close at the moment but could still pinpoint his system's exact location. 25 years. 160 days. If the host continues to use your abilities, then it will decrease more. Even if the host successfully suppressed his injuries, then 30 years at most. It's not the same as what you've said. Before the minimum is 40 years. This is because the host unsealed his real cultivation. Even if it was for a few seconds, the backlash of your overwhelming chi is almost impossible to bear for such a fragile vessel. Host, did the enemy you've met is? Yes. It's a high-tier being. He has the cultivation stage of mythical god. Don't worry, I've killed him, responded Guilan as he finished suppressing his injuries within his soul. Is he after the system? You shut his mouth right away and didn't continue asking his question. Just the fact that his host killed the man means that the latter was after their Lord God, his host's other half. Guilan speaks, I should be returning soon. I need to prepare. Then he stood up and took a towel and bathrobes from the closet and entered the bathroom, intending to take a bath. The bathroom in the floor where Guilan and Xia Yi reside is huge. Like a circle-shaped swimming pool, the people who intended to take a bath could be soaked in it with warm water coming out of the angel fountain at the center of the natatorium. Jade-plated walls, slightly patterned floor which allows people not to slip easy even with wet feet. The water from the fountain is constantly running, and the excess water was used to water the plants outside the mansion. There's a bit of steam converging above the pool which signifies the warm temperature of the water. Guilan is wearing a one-piece silk-like dress over his body without anything under. He walked carefully towards the pool and slowly dipped the tip of his toes to test the temperature, whether it was too hot or just right. Guilan's body temperature is slightly cold by nature. As soon as his toes touch the water, it curls instinctively in response to the sudden change of temperature. Slowly put his jade-like foot into the water. Guilan was satisfied with the hotness and walked deeper towards the pool. He sat down and soaked half of his body under the warmth of the pond. He leans himself on the inner walls of the pool and uses his arms as a pillow before closing his eyes. Meanwhile, when Xia Yi got back into the house, he saw you hovering around the room above the plates of snacks on the side table. It took a while for Xia Yi to return because he needed to issue a few last orders in the headquarters and talk with Uncle Ko, Uncle Lu, and Professor Sun about the result of their plan. These three middle-aged adults were delighted by the news he brought to them. Before he returns to the mansion, Xia Yi drops by the minister's office to meet his father. In law informing the success of their plan and as well as to resume the progress for their wedding that was scheduled to happen this year. After completing all his duties, he returns to their room looking for his lover, only to see no one by the system. Xia Yi asked, 13th, where is my wife? The host is currently taking a bath, my lord. I see. You can report when my wife has gone to sleep. For now I need privacy with him, said Xia Yi, who is slowly removing his armor and vest before intending to join his wife to bathe. Clean those up as well. As you wish, my lord. Xia Yi went to the bathroom after issuing some orders for System U. After cleaning up the dirty clothes and etc. inside the room, System U left the place with the plate of snacks he was munching on before the Lord returned. He gave them the privacy they wanted. It is clear what these couples would be doing when they are alone together. He needs to leave before things inside the room get rated 18. Bathroom. The warmness inside the place could be felt through the air as the steam spread inside the area. Xia Yi entered the bathroom with only a tower covering his lower half. Unlike Guilan, he isn't afraid of the cold, so exposing his body naked would be normal to him. As he gets closer, Xia Yi was welcomed by the bewitching scenery of Guilan's wet look with his eyes closed as if sleeping by the edge of the pool. His turquoise-dyed hair was slightly wet because of the steam inside the room. Few droplets were seen hanging on some strands of his teal hair. His divine features are picturesque. White jade skin, perfect and glowing. Languid eyelashes of feather barrel atop his phoenix-shaped eyes. Tall nose and pouting lips. They were sumptuous, sensuous and velour soft. The steam left moist on it, giving a sultry feeling to those who see. Gui Lan's sleeping figure by the edge looks so serene that it makes Xia Yi think that a siren is unintentionally seducing him by napping at such a place. But this siren is his beloved. Xia Yi would never hesitate to come over and join him within the waters. Whether it was heaven, earth or hell, he is willing to accompany this person who is the source of his boundless love and obsession. He walks slowly, intending to prevent the former from waking up because of the noise. Xia Yi didn't wake Gui Lan up and inside went directly into the water and gently carried the latter, allowing him to straddle on top of his body as he sat within the pool. His back leans on the inner walls of the pool and let Gui Lan continue his nap on top of his body. Not forgetting to wrap his arms around that sylph-like waist, pulling Gui Lan tightly into his embrace. Xia Yi's actions were so gentle as if holding a baby in his hands. Gui Lan didn't wake up right away until he smelled the familiar scent of sandalwood and rust mixed together. Slowly Gui Lan opened his eyes, welcoming him are those pair of jet-black orbs imbued by countless stars and galaxies. He moved slightly to take the most comfortable position while wrapping his arms around those firm muscles and lean waist of his husband. Xia Yi's magnetic voice lingers in his ears as he hears the man speak. "Awake. Baby," asked Xia Yi. Since Xia Yi and Yi Xiaojie soul had merged completely, Xia Yi can now also be considered as Yi Xiaojie. "Awake," replied Gui Lan, who moved his head to look directly at Xia Yi. He is leaning his chin directly on the man's solid chest as he raises his head to move his eyes to Xia Yi's direction. Seeing his wife's languid but sultry look made a smile appear on Xia Yi's face and lowered his head to capture those saccharine sweet lips, enjoying the delicacy before him. Their lips touched and grind together. Tongues intertwine as the sounds of pants and sucking echoes within the room. Gui Lan's arms were placed between his and Xia Yi's chest as he propped up himself to meet the man's lips above him. He could feel a pair of hands wandering on his back to his waist, slowly going downwards to reach the edge of his thin dress. As those calloused hands caressed his bare skin on his legs to inside his clothes, moving upwards as his dress was pulled up at the same time those ticklish caresses fell on his body. Gui Lan's body suddenly trembles when those fingers skimmed through his chest and teasingly fondles the pear peaks on his body. When Xia Yi suddenly pinched his nipples, Gui Lan couldn't stop a moan from coming out of his lips. Their kiss halted the moment Gui Lan moaned. "Ah, baby, raise your arms for a moment please," whispered Xia Yi as he nibbles on Gui Lan's earlobes. Raising his arms in response to his lover's request, Xia Yi removed the only clothing on his wife's body, revealing a supple, mermaid's figure before him. Gui Lan's skin was perfect and glowing white. Only those pinkish now pinched red peaks looked like cherry on top of a flawless smooth skin. Gui Lan placed his hand on his husband's shoulder as he twitched at every rub this pervert did onto his chest. His face is now tinted with slight crimson as he blinks his eyes enticingly towards Xia Yi, clearly playing with him. Xia Yi, seeing his wife's temptress countenance, made his already heated body even more aroused. He hugged Gui Lan's waist and nibbled on those peaks, kissing and sucking onto it while rubbing the other one. Xia Yi's actions made Gui Lan giddy that he could only hug his husband's head as he tried to hold back his voice. Only his fast-paced pants and Xia Yi's sucking sounds resound in the closed room. One of Xia Yi's hands remained holding Gui Lan's slim waist while the other hand slipped downwards to that secret place of his wife. He gently rubs and grinds the opening. The warm temperature of the water had long softened that part, making it easier for Xia Yi to slip his fingers one at a time. He motioned his finger in, impelling inside the secret place to wide the space within. Gui Lan's voice, small, suppressed in low tone, "Ah. Ah. Baby, you don't dislike it? That I'm making you twitch like this, do you? You're rocking your hips on your own, Jinger, whispered Xia Yi directly to Gui Lan's ear, making the latter jolt in response. Gui Lan pants as he stifled his moan within his mouth. No, don't say all this in my ears, he complains while suffering from great pleasure. Chuckles, only in this way I could tease my Jinger into tears, said Xia Yi in undertone. They once again shared a kiss. This time, it was Gui Lan who initiated it. Xia Yi gladly replies to his wife's kisses. In the middle of the kiss, Gui Lan slyly smiles as he held the thing poking under his butt. Xia Yi was startled when his wife suddenly held his proudly raised little brother. He could feel his wife's petite fingers sliding up and down on his member. His aroused part was about to reach its peak from his wife's agendas when he felt it entered a hot, tight cave, squeezing him at the timing of his peak. Gui Lan brazenly pushed Xia Yi's inside him when he was about to be released. Because of the overwhelming pressure within that ardent place, he freely come inside Gui Lan. Groan. Xia Yi's unbearable pleasure made him groan in response. Then he heard his wife's flirty voice near his ears, coupled up with his panting. It's been poking me for a while, so I could only let this rude thing inside as punishment. Does it feel good, Axiad? Rambled Gui Lan to his lover's ears while continuously twisting his hips teasingly. Groan. HMP. Gui Lan, how is it, you still want to tease me, huh? Xia Yi, who had been teasing for a while, retaliated and grabbed Gui Lan's waist. He pushed him in up and down motion, provoking the lust between them even deeper. This time Gui Lan no longer suppressed his voice as he welcomed every thrust under him by lowering his hips in response to Xia Yi's upwards motions. Pa 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 pa. Their movements within the pool are so vigorous that the water even spills out the edges of the pond. But despite that, their movements didn't pause until they both reached their peaks and satisfied each other's desires together. Pants, can I do it? Inside. Pants, asked Xia Yi. Pa 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 pa. Gui Lan, who is already a moaning mess but still had a bit of rationality. Ha go. You'll be cleaning it afterwards, replied Gui Lan in between his breath. Xia Yi, who smiled with satisfaction, said, it will be my pleasure. Jinger. They finally reached the ascension to the highest peak. Only the sound of panting and water falling is heard inside the bathroom. Xia Yi and Gui Lan's eyes met, and then their lips met. They've shared a passionate kiss full of longing, love and obsession. Baby, let's do it again, said Xia Yi while nibbling on Gui Lan's cheeks. Gui Lan didn't reject him and instead hugged him tightly. Let's do it on the bed. Want to lay down? So tired, replied Gui Lan. Afterward Xia Yi could only carry his wife back to the bedroom and continue their nightly exercise on the bed. The two didn't know how many times they did it or whether the sun was already out when they decided to stop. But that is only an endless night of pleasure, desire and lust. Chapter 97. 4.35 Third Blue Star. Aftermath, End. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gui Lan and Xia Yi completely retreated from the duties after retiring. They've stayed in the Gui clan's estate, spending all the time together. No one bothered them and everyone gave them full freedom. Though there are times where Yi Zheng would come over with the rest of the team to complain and visit them, there are no other problems aside from that. Ko Lu, Lin Yi and Professor Sen worked together to pacify the frightened civilians during their plan's implementation. Thanks to Gui Lan's meticulous planning, almost all espers that worked for the syndicate were caught. There were some who escaped, but what caught thanks to the wanted bounty list the Gui mansion had released. The president was brought to court for supporting such inhumane syndicates and was forced to abdicate from his position as the country's leader. When the voting for the new leader was implemented, it was decided anonymously that Prime Minister Gui Shi will take the throne as the president's seat. Because of that, the Gui clan had been promoted from a minister's household to a presidential household. The minister's seat was passed to Lin Yi instead. It only took half a year for everything to return to normal. Sid remains as a special unit in Metropolitan Police. After all, there are still many unresolved supernatural cases. Most of this case was put into the category of cold cases in ordinary police departments. These kinds of cases were passed to the SID unit, keeping Yi Zheng and Li Xing busy for another half of the year. Su Luan still works for Xia Yi, but because his boss chose to retire, his former duties of gathering intelligence reports changed to gathering information about famous honeymoon spots and dating spots to visit. Yunli still works for the institute as he loves the library of that place. He also helps with his lover's errand in listing a travel schedule for the honeymoon of their bosses. This couple is together most of the time as well, in the library. Guilan and Xia Ye's wedding was finally scheduled to be done in the first week of the new year. It was just a few days after New Year's as Xia Yi could no longer wait. He even wanted to marry Guilan even without the ceremony and pulled the latter the next day after they've retired. Before Guilan was tired of the nightly exercise that day, Xia Yi had to carry him on his arm as they ventured to the place called the Civil Bureau. Xia Yi wanted their marriage to be concluded even without the ceremony. The staff of the Civil Bureau who didn't know the couple even thought that the beautiful lazy man was kidnapped and forced to marry this cold handsome man. Old Man Ko heard the news on the same day and immediately reported it to the president. Gui Shi almost beat up Xia Yi when he heard that he brought his sleeping son to the bureau's office and asked his half-asleep son to sign those papers. Their lives continue until the next year. When the new year comes, a few days later a big wedding with the president in entourage broadcasted his only son's wedding ceremony. This ceremony is so grand and luxurious as the two men who will be getting married are the heroes who decimated a large syndicate called Inferno. The marriage was recorded in history as the wedding of the century. Right after the wedding, Guilan and Xia Yi left the country to roam around the world. Following them are their guide and subordinates, Yunli and Su Luan, who created the whole schedule of this long journey, in the other couple who joined for fun, Yi Zheng and Li Xing. They've roamed around the world. From famous honeymoon spots, famed dating spots, to scenic gardens and beaches, rainforest to deserts, and even took the adventure of visiting forbidden zones. It took them 10 years to finish this action-packed, thrilling and almost life-threatening journey of their lives. After finishing this adventure, Yi Zheng and Li Xing retired from the unit and passed their mantle to the next generation after them. These couples remained in the central city and lived a normal life in their middle-age years until they got old. Yunli and Su Luan also left the institute to continue serving Guilan and Su Luan as always. Guilan and Xia Yi went treasure hunting after their honeymoon as Guilan hates boredom more than anything. Xia Yi made sure to complete all of his wife's requests and never left his side the whole time. At the age of 45, Guilan and Xia Yi returned to the country together with Su Luan and Yunli. They left the city in request of Guilan wanting to live in a quiet place. They've lived within a forest and had a quiet life as a couple. At the age of 50, Guilan asked Xia Yi to return to the Gui clan to see his father, Gui Shi, with a reason for missing him. They've lived back together with the old man, making the latter completely joyous of such events. But Xia Yi knew that his wife has never been close to other people except for him in the other worlds. This time Guilan asking to return to Gui clan made him uncomfortable, but his wife never told him the reason and just smiled at him whenever he asked the reason of why. At Guilan age of 51, Xia Yi finally understood the reason for his uneasiness. On Guilan's birthday, he suddenly collapsed. The famous doctors of their country and prominent international doctors haven't found the reason why Guilan's body suddenly withered in such a state. All doctors who've checked on Guilan only gave Xia Yi one answer. "I'm sorry, but we cannot do anything about this." Evening of Guilan's birthday. Guilan was lying on the huge bed with pale skin and lips. Sickly figure as of his withering. Seated at the edge of the bed is Xia Yi, who is holding his wife's hands while trembling. His eyes were red from crying and anger. Even when Xia Yi used his godly powers as Yi Xiajia, there was no effect on Guilan's dying vessel. That night Guilan finally woke up from his deep sleep and saw his husband's ugly expression. "I don't cry. This is something even. I couldn't change, said Guilan with a weak smile on his face. Xiaoyi with his voice hoarse as it is, said, tell me. What is happening, Jinger? He asked. He okay. I will tell you. You have Xiaoye's memories so you should remember. It was on that day I first entered your soul domain. Even before both of your soul fragments merged. I remember. That is the day I regret the most in this life, replied Xiaoyi. Guilan asked, why? Because that is the day I first harmed you in this life, replied Xiaoyi with a dark expression of regret and agony in his eyes. Is it? But that is the day I made the choice to choose you over everything, said Guilan. Xiaoyi was stunned with what he heard. What do you mean? He asked. Guilan smiled as if he remembered something. It was the day that I chose to violate a divine law by telling an original resident of a world about the secrets of the higher realms. Xiaoyi instantly understood the reason for his wife's current state. Knowing this, Xiaoyi couldn't help but blamed himself after realizing that he is the reason for his wife's weakened situation. Guilan, that day I was so scared that you would hate me. Which is why I didn't want to lie to you and told you everything you wanted to know. At that time only your soul as Xiaoyi is awake and the other fragment is still asleep. I was afraid that maybe it would leave a doubt in your heart that I didn't tell you any truth. That if I keep my silence it would be considered as lying to you and a seed of doubt would be planted in your heart. Hearing this explanation the tears of Xiaoyi could only fall as he held his wife's cold hands. Clearly this person is about to leave him again. Just like before, this person always chose to live just so he could protect him from harm. Whether it was towards people or negative emotions. This man had always kept him in his protection. I would never want to let feel even that tiny hint of doubt in your heart. Which is why I made that choice. I didn't regret that choice of mine. Never regret it. Only. I was a bit disappointed when you didn't recognize me at all. It was Yunli who noticed me before everyone else and even you. I didn't tell you about this and even used my authority skill on you. So he wouldn't be able to tell you anything, explained Guilan. Xiaoyi, who was crying soundlessly, held his wife's hands while trembling. The life within Guilan's eyes is slightly fading but he still continues to speak. It was intentional. I didn't want you to know. It's not like we wouldn't meet again in our next live. Be sure to find me first. Okay. So. This is only a small punishment. Axia. I love. Guilan took his last breath and wasn't even able to complete his words. As soon as his vessel died because his soul was injured the heavenly laws ejected him right away from that star's administration's control. System you even remained in that place for a bit to speak with his boss. Now that his host's body died in this world, the authority placed on him before is no longer applicable. I'm sorry my lord but Sire had been ejected by this world already. I couldn't report everything to my lord because of the command Sire had put on me. Executioner 13th. I will not blame you. No, I couldn't even do so. Just tell me everything that happens while I am asleep, said Yi Shijie. This time his anger is too much and his sadness is too unbearable as well. This is not the first world for him to wake He Anjing dead before him. But unlike before he couldn't follow him right away as the lifespan of his vessel isn't even half of its original lifespan. Because of his high level of attainment of his Esper's ability, his body had strengthened to the point that he would only die when he is at the age 200. He couldn't even die prematurely as the world energy he worked hard to gather would be gone and his soul as Xiaoyi would once again enter reincarnation if he chose to die right now. He was happy to know that the lifespan of the Esper in this little world could live until 200 made him happy. Just based on the fact that both he and his wife were strong enough to live past 100, delighted him that he could spend more time together with his wife in this world. Now his wife was only 51 when he left the world. Within that 51 years, they were separated from each other for 15 fucking years. Now he is only 54 years old and he could only leave this body at the age ranging of 150 to 200. Leaving before that age means all his hard work would disappear. Now he will live in this damn star alone for 100 more years and so. Report. Executioner 13th. Said Yi Xiajie. System U, who was frightened by his big boss's anger, could only tell him all the details that he knew. All the information that was held back because of his host. He didn't hide anything. Even reported that his host used a skill card. Limit breaker in this world twice. He even reported Professor Sen's identity. Everything. He told him every single detail. Hearing the contents of his subordinate's report made Yi Xiajie face dark with anger and fury. He released his cultivation at peak and chose to destroy this little star that caused him to be separated from his wife and even cause him to injure his soul. It is because of the asshole heavenly laws of this world and that damn divine laws. My lord, are you going to destroy this world? By destroying this star means I could forcefully collect its world's energy. Don't bother me. Inform Warden Luo to bring out his prisoner of this world and that world hopper called Senator. They only have 10 minutes to leave before I destroy this world completely. Yes, sir. Right away, my lord. System U immediately leaves the place and passes the messages from their lord. Yi Xiajie watched his crumbling surroundings with a calm and emotionless gaze. This world had no importance under his sight. After all, the only important thing he had in this world had already left, leaving him alone in this useless world. The house and his surroundings had all turned to ruins in seconds, then to ashes. The sky had fragmented like a broken mirror and a huge black cloud gathered on top of his head. These cumulus clouds are the avatar of every heavenly law in each world. This is the set of rules brought to life by this small star. Outsider. No result. Original resident. Not applicable. Scanning. Identity error. An error occurred, initiating erasure mode. Delete the error to repair the world. Issuing elimination for this unidentified being. A black sword appeared on Yi Xiajie's hands. This is the same sword which his wife had gifted to him. He only waves his hand once and slashes the will of this world. So noisy. You are just a collection of human wills. Said Yi Xiajie. With one slash from him, the heavenly laws of this world was destroyed. Now, without the protection of the heavenly laws, the world's destruction had progressed even faster. The cracks on the sky had exploded, revealing the empty space outside this little star. Yi Xiajie was looking at the horizon at the distance. He then uttered as he looked above him. Baby, I will meet you again soon. This time I promise I will find you first. Murmured Yi Xiajie. The moment System U returned to his side, Yi Xiajie completely destroyed the star and gathered the world energy within it. Afterwards no one knows where he disappeared to. System U, after escorting the Lord God out, he returned to his system space to continue his duties and serve as He Anjing's temporary system. Chapter 98. 5.0 Prologue. In the system space before the fifth world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Back in the system space. As soon as He Anjing's soul was sucked out of the little star, he opened his sapphire eyes in the usual pitch-black space overflowing with stars and galaxies before him. But this time He Anjing wasn't able to enjoy it as nonchalantly as before, as his legs suddenly weakened and he fell seated on the black water-like floor under him. In his soul's original form he wouldn't be able to spit blood like in a human vessel. Instead he could see that the figure of his hands and legs was a bit translucent, unlike his solid soul form from his original healthy state. He Anjing sat down properly and pinched the space between his eyes, clearly showing his stress and lethargic state. Sigh, I didn't expect that the heavenly laws of that little star would suddenly pull me out without permission. Such rudeness. TSK. I wasn't even able to say goodbye properly. Damn it. Complained He Anjing. Even ignoring his current translucent state because of his injured soul. After looking around, He Anjing didn't see his round and cute moon system. He thought of things for a moment and realized that his husband must have caught his little system to be interrogated. That is not my fault, right? Getting you in trouble, though I don't believe my husband is going to get angry at me or you. Since you haven't returned means something must have happened in there. Anyway, forget it. Let's go meditate to heal my soul and cancel the punishment the divine laws had bestowed on me. Thank God it only had an effect while I am in that little star. Now I could heal myself. He Anjing whistled for a few seconds as if bored. Only when he got in a state of meditation that he closed his eyes while sitting in a lotus form as he circulated his chi all over his body. He only needed to meditate for a few hours for his soul injuries to be cured. Though his memories haven't completely unsealed, just that information he got from Lu Yan's system is enough for him to rationalize his current situation and his real origin. With those facts in his brain, he now doesn't need to worry much about his sealed memories and choose to focus on unsealing his original abilities and cultivation instead. As he meditates, Anjing uses his chi to slowly pierce through those seals in his cultivation. Slowly upgrading his cultivation stage from being a mortal state to an awakened cultivator. He continued to meditate in System U space. Meanwhile, System U, who just got back from that ruined little star, is now glowing dimly at his moon avatar form. He took half a day before he could return. Obviously he is so tired from the events that happened after his host left the star. Tired. I never thought the Lord God would destroy the little star due to anger. That's the first time I've seen him that angry. Scary. It is good though that the Lord God wasn't angry because the host kept that a secret. Instead, seeing him slash that heavenly laws like a piece of paper is so horrifying. Grumbled by System U as soon as he returns in his space. After he finished talking to himself, he finally remembered his host's existence and looked around. He let out a breath of relief when he saw his host meditating in the middle of the space. The chi he emits is stable and there is no other problem at all. Seeing this, System U decided to leave the host for a moment to report. Host. U is going to report to the boss for a bit. I will be back soon. No one replied to him, but System U still waited for a few seconds before leaving the space to report to his higher-ups. After a few hours more, He Anjing once again opened his eyes as he finished his meditation. His former translucent state turned solid once again. In the middle of meditating he heard Yu's voice but didn't reply as he couldn't just cut off his concentration. After checking that his current state had returned to normal, He Anjing stood up and waved his hand once to create a fissure in space. Put his hand in and pulled something out. The thing that was pulled out is that man he captured in the last star. It is a man who called himself He Wanyu. Someone from the He clan. He Anjing's paternal clan. He Wanyu was still unconscious when he was pulled out from He Anjing's personal domain. After completing his fourth world, He Anjing's memories are now unsealed about 40%. He could unseal 5% at each world normally, but if it's a high-tier world he might be able to unlock a higher percentage instead. Anyway, he doesn't need to worry about his memories except for a few personal ones. The main ones can be understood through the data he got from the God Systems database. Which is why he knew about He Wanyu. This man is from the clan of his father, He Xian. But aside from his father being a he had no other connection to the He clan. After all, his father is a banished person from that clan. He grew up under his mother's clan instead. Moreover, his bloodline from his mother is stronger than that of his father. As for the reason why, this is because his birth is not through natural way but through gene combination of his father and mother. Because his mother is a male as well. In short, is he an artificially born being? He is someone with the bloodline of Mo clan. This is the reason why in his human form he had an azure eyes while silver eyes in his god form. Mo bloodline features. Hair color. Silver or brown eye color. Blue He bloodline features. Black hair and silver eyes. This is why in his human form, He Anjing had raven hair paired with sapphire orbs. On the other hand in his god form he had long brown hair and silver irises. It's a mixture of two bloodlines. He Anjing glacial blue eyes stared down on He Wanyu's sleeping figure and unhesitantly gave his stomach a mean kick. Kicked. The strength hidden within that kick is not normal. He Wanyu instantly woke up from the pain coming from his stomach. He Wanyu's eyes were covered in tears because of just one kick. The pain that originates from that kick of He Anjing isn't normal. He used his Qi Specials initiative. He is born with Yin Qi which is rich in ice elements. That kick just now slowly froze Wanyu's internal organs, veins and meridians. In short He Wanyu will become a half-crippled with his lower body completely useless if he didn't circulate his Qi to stop the cold Qi from invading his body. Ah! Ha! He Anjing smirked at him as if he couldn't see his pain. Wake now. You sleep well for a prisoner. He sarcastically said. With tears-filled eyes, He Wanyu glared at He Anjing. He couldn't speak well because of the pain originating from his veins and meridians. Y.U. B.Bas.Tard. Responded He Wanyu. Guilin treated him indifferently. I suggest that you tell me everything that you know. Why are you targeting Axia's soul fragments when he has nothing to do with you so holy He clan? Or is it because of me? No, if it is because of me you wouldn't dare do so. After all, Dad wouldn't mind eliminating your so-called clan if he heard you've touched me. He Wanyu's contorted breathing resounds in space. He Anjing calmly watches the man on the floor twist his body in agony. He Anjing's face remains stony despite his sly smile. If you vowed to answer my questions honestly I would temporarily suppress the cold Qi in you. Otherwise then you can just wait to die slowly after being crippled. He gave him an option to choose. The trembling in He Wanyu's body became uncontrollable as he knew that the one before him would never joke around because he is nothing but a stranger to this person. Remembering the Mo bloodline, this guy possesses the unimaginable fear that spreads in his heart. Cold temperament and mercilessness towards their enemies. They would never hesitate to take action towards those who oppose them. This family is only kind to their own and treated the rest coldly. Even if he is someone from He Anjing never treated the He clan as his own family as his father had long been banished from their clan. They were even more than strangers and close to the boundary line of being their enemies. Just one wrong step and they would be treated without any mercy when getting punished. This is what the He clan is afraid of. He Xian no longer cares for the clan and stays with his wife 24/7. To him they are nothing but strangers with the same blood. But He Anjing is different. He wasn't banished or anything. He just grew up outside the clan. He had no feeling towards the clan. No affection and no hate. He treated them as distant and shameless relatives, but at least he still saw them as a relative even in name only. To the He clan that much is okay for now, but they still wanted more. This is why they wanted someone from the He clan to court He Anjing. This is because they knew about Mo clan's special trait towards their other half. Mo can only love one person in their eternity. Their heart beats only once in their whole existence. As long as someone from He clan is able to capture He Anjing's heart, they would be able to promote themselves as a royal clan like the sole supreme clan like the Mo family, whose authority even equals the origin of all realms which the god of creation, Siwang. He Wanyu nodded in desperation. He Anjing waved his hand once to suppress the cold Qi in the former's body, allowing him to be able to speak without problem. Explain to me everything that you know, said He Anjing coldly. That I am only following orders from above. I do not know the details about what the clan wants to do. The order only says to capture that man's soul fragments. Replied He Wanyu. He Anjing's face turned dark, who gave the order to seize Axia's soul fragments. He asked. The clan ancestor, He Ju. Replied He Wanyu. For the first time He Anjing's smile fades from his face not because of anger but instead of disbelief. He staggered for a moment as he covered his forehead as if he suffered a revelation he would never have expected. What? In the first place, He Ju is his only friend. The only one in his whole life. He grew up treating this person as his closest confidant and his elder brother figure. This person is also the only reason why he never completely desolated the He clan in his heart. It is because He Ju exists that He clan still exist. His face was full of skepticism. You are lying. Jue.ge would never do that. Exclaimed He Anjing. He tried to convince himself but was unable to do so. The turmoil in his heart even causes ripples inside the space as it causes enough disturbance for it to shake as if a huge earthquake strikes on it. He Anjing's mood completely turned sour to being akin to murderous. He grabbed He Wanyu's collar as he lifted him up. His eyes turned to leaden in the same shade of the moonlight. His eyes glinted in wild rage as he glared at He Wanyu. He Wanyu, who didn't expect He Anjing to react like this, was dumbfounded and speechless. He could hardly breathe with the tightness of Anjing's hold in his collar. He felt being choked akin to some grabbing his throat directly. You lied. Tell me the truth. Said He Anjing. With his face slowly turning purple from choking, he tried his best to respond. It's true. I answered you honestly. Replied He Wanyu. This is the situation system you had witnessed when he returned to his space. But this time he isn't alone. A man with light blonde long hair and purple irises with one of them hidden in a glass lens firmly held by the bridge of his nose while wearing a white and violet colored robes appeared in the space. This man is called Liang. He is a nether god who works as a substitute lord god while Yi Shujia is gone. He is Ji Yu's, System U's real name, superior. Liang grabbed He Wanyu out of He Anjing's grasp, saving him from getting killed. But this action of his made Anjing's anger move towards him. Liang flinched when he saw those pair of murderous silver orbs falling on him. He felt that his whole body was covered in ice, but he chose to ignore it as he couldn't let He Anjing to lose himself in anger. Sire. Please calm down. Liang will explain the whole thing after you've returned to this space once again. Please forgive me for my sudden rudeness. Excuse me. Said Liang, who controlled the space to pull over a violet star from the horizon. It was a star that was not among the usual varieties of stars where Anjing could choose from. It is a newly arrived star. He directly pushed the furious He Anjing to be sucked in that star as he captured He Wanyu. System U was stunned by the whole event. He could not believe that his boss dared to do that to an esteemed being like his host. Even their Lord God never dared that before. A savage glare from He Anjing was given to Liang before he got completely pulled inside the violet star. He Anjing yelled. You fucker. Surnamed An, I will kill you. Those were the last words He Anjing spouted before he disappeared from the space. The moment He Anjing disappears except for He Wanyu's disorderly coughs there is only silence in the space. Ji Yu looked at his boss with a pitiful gaze as if looking at a dead man. Liang used his free hand to squeeze his throbbing temples. Don't look at me like that. If I didn't do that he would have destroyed this space in anger, and those group of annoying old men will think that his memories and strength had returned when it wasn't yet. Said Liang. Ji Yu didn't completely believe his boss's excuses. Since you force him that way, I need to coax him with something or his anger wouldn't subside. Replied Ji Yu. Sai, unseal one or two special ability or talent he has. Only at the extent his soul could bear. His soul isn't completely awake yet and his current vessel wouldn't be able to support his full strength yet. Just one of each, said En Liang as he cuffed He Wanyu with anti-God chains. This will completely restrict his cultivation and make him immortal. Ji Yu looked at En Liang. How much could I say to the host? He asked his boss. Not everything, but don't lie to him. Be sure to ask that person's soul fragment to talk to his lover about it. Tell him that I offended his lover and I don't really want to die young yet. Say to I that. How my head has been aching too much lately. Is it stress? This is definitely stress, said En Liang before disappearing from the space with the new prisoner, He Wanyu. You guys all left all the hard work for me to do. Don't you know only the Lord God can coax that sire's anger? I also don't want to die yet. Murmured Ji Yu, who turned himself back to his full moon avatar and followed his host to that violet star his boss threw him in. After he left, that space had become quiet once again. Chapter 99. 5.1 First Violet Star. Become my sandbag. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After getting pulled into the world within the violet star without his consent, He Anjing's anger almost exploded. He doesn't really have any memories about that man called En Liang, but according to the data he got from before, he knew that the man is his husband's close friend and Nether System's second in command. In short, while his husband is currently in a state of unknown, that man called En Liang is working as his substitute. Just seeing the noticeable dark circle under his eyes is enough proof. That person is overworked. But he doesn't care. He just wanted to beat the man half dead to show him his anger. When his soul synchronized with his new vessel, he heard the words that came out of his mouth. I like you. Even if you don't like me, I would not marry Laohu. These were the words that came out of his mouth when He Anjing just woke up from his new body. A voice replied to him. I don't like you and will never do. You are not worthy. When his sight completely recovers, He Anjing finally sees his surroundings. He saw two men before him wearing cold and annoyed expression on their faces. There's a clear disgust within their eyes. The body of the original was talking to a tall man with inky hair and golden irises when he overtook. This man is bare above his waist and only shorts made of fur worn below. The raven-haired man had powerful shoulders above a six-pack muscled stomach. A gladiator's biceps and iron muscles, but despite that, his body isn't muscular, instead it has a perfect proportion of muscles in his whole body. His features are fierce and ravishing. He is a very manly man who could spread his pheromones just by standing alone. At this moment this man looks down on him with revulsion in his aureate feline eyes. Behind this person is a man with bronze-colored short hair and eyes is looking at him with a mocking gaze as if what he heard is the lamest joke in history. The man with raven twisted his head to look at the guys behind him and said, Laohu, you heard his nonsense. Can you get this female of yours away from me? He is disgusting. He said with a tone of dislike on his voice. Laohu replied with a clear loath on his voice, even if you say that. He is not my female as we haven't done the mating ceremony yet. Don't call him my female. Because he is undeserving. Useless shit. Hearing such obvious jeering in his ears, even though he was not the original, He Anjing's anger from before flared once again. He have yet to clear his bad moon and had to hear this kind of things. He have always been short-tempered but still tried his hardest to suppress his irritation. Even though he tried to suppress his murderous intent, what already spread for few seconds had been already felt. The result, those who were vigilant against danger whipped their heads to stare at him seriously, even that man with inky hair looked at him with a gauging gaze. As one of the two who is standing near him, this man had clear felt that split second of bloodthirstiness from the female beast man in front of him, but since the killing intent was instantly suppressed, those who weren't near He Anjing thought they felt things wrong. But only Laohu and the man with black hair clearly felt that danger coming out from him that moment. Which is why they were looking weirdly at He Anjing with their guards up. He Anjing, whose expression turned colder and undisturbed, looks around the audience. The people in the area are mostly bare above their waist and just wore shorts or shirt made from animal furs. Just judging from their clothes, He Anjing somewhat realized that he must have entered a primitive world. Among the crowd his eyes picked up the weakest among the rest. He saw a man with fawn-color hair and pink eyes. To him this man feels like a rabbit. What made him interested is that among the rest, only this weak-looking young man wears normal clothes on him. Shirt and shorts. Anjing made his move and walked towards that man with elegant and graceful steps. The other males wouldn't help but stare at those slender white legs and plump ass which wiggles as his every step. They couldn't help but gasped in amazement. The raven-haired man frowns instead. Standing before the weak-looking young man with fawn-colored hair, He Anjing looked down on him and spoke. Using his right index finger to raise the man's chin, "Tell me. How could I dismiss an engagement?" asked He Anjing. His voice had a seducing feeling on it. The fawn-haired man first shivered seeing He Anjing's icy eyes, but seeing the obvious modern gesture his fear faded temporarily. There are 3 ways. First, the tribe leader calls off the engagement. Second, for the male beast man to dismiss his female, and lastly, if the female beast man defeated the male, which signifies his unworthiness. The man replied. After hearing what he wanted to, He Anjing removed his finger on the man's chin and wiped it on his fur shorts. He no longer looks at the man as he walks back to the center where the other 2 are. "I will save you once in exchange for this debt. Come to me if you wish to redeem it," said Anjing as he walked away with a cat-like grace. The fawn-haired man blushed red as he nodded in agreement, dazed. No one knew what was going on in his little mind. But there were some females that felt envious towards him because of what He Anjing had done. This time when He Anjing returned to face the 2 men, he totally ignored the man with black hair and focused his gaze on the man called Laohu. Staring at Laohu with unconcerned eyes, "You heard right. Since I don't want to get married, become my sandbag," said He Anjing as his sky-like eyes turned fierce and dangerous. He suddenly jumped on the man called Laohu and attacked him. Seeing He Anjing initiating an attack, the black-haired man jumped away from the center, leaving the field for the 2. Laohu was caught off guard and could only raise his hands to block the incoming fist on his face with his arms. At first he was startled. When that small fist made contact with his arms, he felt the heavy strength coming from the female's petite body. He almost couldn't block it and had to use both his hands to stop him from falling back. In spite of his attempts to block, he still took a few steps back from the force of the fist. Laohu raised his head and looked at the female beastman before him in disbelief. The female before him looked calm and emotionless. The sudden increase of strength could not be borne by his thin body, as his right arm dislocated after that attack, now hanging loosely at this female beastman's shoulder. Clearly such a thing should be extremely painful, but the female before him remains apathetic to his dislocated arm. They even watch him use his left hand to reconnect his right shoulder. Click. Click. The sounds of bones clicking could be heard. Everyone couldn't help but look at this weird female beastman, who remained calm even with the pain of bone settling. They didn't even see his white eyebrows twitch when he reconnected his shoulder. He Anjing, after reconnecting his dislocated shoulder, looked at his hand and checked if it was working properly. Opening and closing his hands, as he checks whether he reconnected his arm correctly. This body is really weak. I should finish this fast. He Anjing silently uttered, but everyone was a beastman and could hear his silent whisper. Those who could intuitively feel the danger coming from He Anjing couldn't help but started shivering as those pairs of sky-blue eyes fell on them. Laohu was especially frightened as his expression turned grim and serious while looking at his supposed-to-be fiancée. Laohu asked in disbelief, "Xuebao, were you hiding your strength this whole time because you are a female?" He Anjing turned deaf ears on him and instead gave him an evil smirk. then continued to increase his speed as he threw punches and kicks on Laohu. The latter was completely defensive as He Anjing's speed was faster than his. But the strength on those punches were solid, leaving bruises on his arms and body. In that moment Laohu could no longer hold back his irritation. He suddenly turned into his beast form, a huge tiger. The tiger has glowing, amber eyes, glaring at He Anjing. It was so large that a shadow loomed at He Anjing. Its fur is a flame and coal mix and muscled body looking so powerful, and it stood fearless and proud before He Anjing. The tiger has a large and heavy head. It suddenly roars and growls, displaying its terrifying presence, but He Anjing looks back at it nonchalantly. Seeing such a huge tiger, He Anjing showed a short moment of astonishment which instantly turned into an understanding smile. He watched Laohu in his beast form flicking his tail before he leapt at him. Roar! Before Laohu could seize him, He Anjing jumped at the side gracefully and turned into his own beast form. A gorgeous snow leopard. Its size is only half of the huge tiger. The fur is smooth and exquisite like snow. Pure white, glittering under the sunlight with a bit patterned dark rosette's fur. The spots signifying the color of the night. Its feline eyes were alluring with the color of the sky and seas. This leopard smirked as his speed doubled than the original. Those who are not battle-trained couldn't even follow his movements. At his every jump, a deep gash appeared on the tiger's body. Even when the tiger tries its hardest to dodge, the difference in strength and speed is overwhelming. To accommodate He Anjing's soul, the vessel he had now had upgraded to its peak to match the soul. He now had the strength to kill even an adult dinosaur in such a body. In this match, He Anjing is obviously playing around with his strength. Using only the minimal level, and treated Laohu as his precious sandbag. It took a whole hour of beating before Laohu returns in his human form. As he returned to his human form, countless wounds, scratches and gashes all over his body could be seen. He looks hideous with all his wounds. Currently out of breath and strength as he laid on the ground with his back, looking so frail. Meanwhile the snow leopard is unstained by dirt or blood, only his white claws soaked in crimson as he used it to attack Laohu. The audience couldn't believe that their second strongest warrior was defeated by the notorious scum female beastman of their tribe. The fight didn't even take hours to finish, and the one who lost is unexpectedly Laohu. A male beastman against a female beastman. This battle is unexpected enough, and the result is out of blue. They've watched as the snow leopard jumped on Laohu and turned human before it fell directly on Laohu's chest. He Anjing was sitting directly on the latter's chest with an evil smile on his enchanting face. He is a bit out of breath and was obviously weakened, but the cheerfulness and excitement within those blue eyes is tempting. This female beastman is not only extremely beautiful but had the strength that wouldn't lose to the warriors of their tribe. They now looked at this unsullied white flower as if he is an unattainable being. He Anjing looked down on the ashen-faced Laohu under him. What he didn't know is that someone is extremely unhappy with his current position. I defeated you. How about you give up? Since there is no way in hell I'm going to marry someone weaker than I do. Loser. Admit defeat. Tauntingly spoken He Anjing. But the arrogant Laohu refused to admit defeat. This female is his. There is no way he would accept a loss and lose his engagement to him. No. I will not dismiss you. I want to marry you. Responded Laohu. He Anjing's smile faded when he heard that. Even the raven-haired man watching by the side had his aura suddenly turning cold upon hearing Laohu's words. I thought you said I am undeserving. A useless piece of shit. Coldly replied He Anjing as his eyes slowly turned vicious at each word. Laohu was speechless as he heard He Anjing's words. He indeed remembered saying those words a few hours ago. But he refused to admit defeat, he wanted this female even over his dead body. Seeing Lao Hu refusing to admit defeat made He Anjing's last line of control snapped. His rage had gone beyond his control. I see you've made your decision not to dismiss me then. They watched as He Anjing raised his right hand revealing his bloody claws. This time within those aqua irises were emotions of rage, ruthlessness and viciousness. He Anjing's voice echoes in area, as long as you die there will be no marriage happening as the supposed-to-be groom would be considered dead, right? Lao Hu's eyes widened in shock and terror. He saw the killing intent within the eyes of the enticing man before him. There is only pure cruelty and cold ferociousness shown within those azure eyes. This female beast man is really intending to take his life at this moment. He felt death drifting over him so closely in this life. He knew he would be dead when that slender jade white arms fall. A single moment of regret flashed within Lao Hu's amber eyes. Ah! I shouldn't have said those words. Thoughts of Lao Hu in that point of death.